It's just
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
that's this.
Yeah, it's the same, but it's not like that. It's So before 2002, you were just a normal guy?
Nah, actually, before 2002, before I was incarcerated, I was a member of the Gangster Disciples.
Okay.
So my whole life I've been involved in gangs and street life and in and out of prison, in and out of juvenile systems, rehabs or whatever. You know, even when I wasn't using, I utilized those resources just to keep from going to
Right.
juvenile to boys school. But I ended up going eventually. But mind you not, in 2002, I ended up getting sentenced to 44 years, 32 years and 12 years separated. So, and as I done my time, man, I started in 2002, and I was a little bit, angry. I was a little
Yeah.
bit bitter. I was a lot broken.
Yeah.
And these things I didn't know until I came to Christ and came to my senses. I always knew about God, but as far as me walking and living it, that wasn't an option because of the lifestyle that I lived,
Yeah.
and I always felt like it was God's fault as opposed to everything
Yeah.
that had happened pre-adolescence, dealing with verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse,
Right.
every abuse you could think of I've dealt with. So
Right.
in order to have experienced those things at such a young age, my mind was programmed to believe that people weren't good.
Right.
And that it was God's fault because everybody said, well, God.
Right.
Well, why didn't God stop these things?
Right.
Where was God when they was happening?
Right.
And as I go throughout my incarceration, I've been involved in a lot of bad situations, dealing with violence the whole time and speed up a little bit to 2014. Well, I got into an altercation with a guy and I kind of hurt the guy pretty bad. And I was in my cell and I was like, man, God, it's over with. If you don't do something to change my heart, if you really real, change my heart.
Yeah.
But if you're not, then I'm gonna die in prison and I'm never gonna see home. So,
Wow.
and man, it felt like something it just lifted up off of me and poured over me. And I was like, and I was standing there and I hadn't, I hadn't cried since I was probably like 12 or 13 years old. So now here I am, 39 years old. So it's been a lot of pent up aggression, anger, hurt, pain. Every emotion you could think of is trapped in this body, that shell of a man, but it's just a little boy in there dying inside. So I cried, man, and I cried for like 20 minutes straight. I'm talking about, I couldn't stop, just kept crying. So I walked to my door, and I'm in the end cell. So outside of my door is like a cabinet about this wide, but it holds a fire extinguisher hose. I'm in the corner, and on the top of it is a Bible. So I look, I beat on the door, an officer come around, I said, can I get this Bible? He said, no. He said, I've only been working here 2 weeks. This was Sunday. He said, you gotta wait till Tuesday when the book cart come around. I'm like, all right, whatever. He shut the door back. I go back, I stand in the corner, I'm looking out the window, standing on the bed. I don't have no clothes because they confiscated everything because it was blood on it. So I'm sitting there in this window, I'm still crying. So, it's obvious that this officer could see the distress. And it's so beautiful how God sends his people, because later on I find out that this guy is a man of God that preaches the word and helps men in prison in my city in Anderson.
Oh, man. Wow.
I hear the door open, the food slot, the Bible sit down on it.
Really? Wow.
I don't even wait to see who said it or what. I just grab it, go back in the corner, I read that whole Bible in 122 days.
Wow.
Didn't comprehend none of it, really.
Right.
But Genesis 50 and 20 stuck with me, and it said, but as for you, you meant it for evil against me, but God meant it for good in order to bring about this present result, to preserve many people alive. And I kept that scripture on my heart, and I keep it on my mind and on my mouth everywhere I go, because I know that was God showing me this is your purpose. This is why I kept you so long. This is why all the things you experienced, I still carried you through. So I kept reading, kept studying. The Holy Spirit again sends a Bible study.
Yeah.
I didn't order no Bible study. I was out here gangbanging, doing drugs.
Right.
So I gets the Bible study. I goes over it and just constantly get into it. And a lot of the brothers that's in the lockup with me, they see the transition. They like,
Right.
something different about this guy. What's going on? So I'm sharing with them through the vent, hollering across the range about Bible studies and listening to Bible shows on the radio every day for 30 minutes. And
Yeah.
I would holler out Pastor Ford. He would come out of Chicago. He'd come on at like 7:30 or 7 o'clock every night. Pastor Ford. All the brothers, all right. They'll get quiet because they know I'm listening to the radio. No beating on the doors, no flood, none of that, because we listening to the word. So
Man.
now they start listening to it.
Right.
So the officers are seeing the change. So now it's shifting the atmosphere because these guys are starting to listen. So I go through my lockup experience. I filed for a dismissal on my write-up, in the federal
Right,
courts.
right.
They overturn it.
Okay.
This is in June, around July of 2015, where I get word that Nick and his whole team is coming, life without limbs, to the prison.
Right.
So I'm like, and I've been reading this pamphlet, so I'm like, yes, I'm going to this.
Right.
I said, God, please let me go. I didn't go.
Yeah.
But I didn't lose faith and I didn't lose hope. So I get out of lockup in October of 2015. I go to a faith-based unit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first I go back to regular population. Now, I told you I was a member of the Gangster Disciples, so I kind of feared the repercussions of
Right.
leaving the gangs and knowing how it goes if you leave, and
Right.
all the stuff we knew, secrets.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, I've never told on nobody before, so why would they think I would do it now, But I told God, I said, listen, I chose to walk this way now and walk with you, so you're going to have to protect me.
Right.
That he did. All the brothers would come up and say, man, we commend you, man. We proud of you. We see the change. So I no longer go by my moniker no more, which
Right.
was Lope. Call me by my name. So they working on it a little bit at a time. So now they calling me by my name. Now it's Brother Clay or Bishop Clay, because they hearing me. I'm going around.
Right.
I start a prayer circle.
Right.
Had a prayer circle every night.
Right.
Unless it was a lockdown,
Right.
all the way until I was released. So, and I was released in 22, just Valentine's Day, and now that's the love of God.
Right.
But to backtrack a little bit, as I get out in 18, I'm like, well, I go to the faith-based unit.
Right.
They put me in the dorm with some brothers that I had been in lockup with and some other brothers that had heard and that come from other dorms, and they like, man, we heard what you was doing. We want
Right.
to be a part of that. So we start small groups. Well, they have us do a focus group for Nick Vujicic
Right.
and Life Without Limbs. So
Right.
I'm like, man, I'm overjoyed. I want to do this. I always wanted to see him, and we made a video for him after the focus group
Yeah.
2 times. So I still didn't get to meet him. So I'm still doing this. Now Freeing My Faith come around. So
Right.
I'm facilitating 3 classes, Freeing My Faith. I'm facilitating Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. And I'm facilitating Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Myers.
Okay.
So we doing this and we studying. And I noticed that the brothers is gravitating more towards Freeing My Faith. And I know why now, because of the simplicity of it.
Right.
And the heart of it.
Yeah.
Because that hope, we have to start with that. So we stay on it. Well,
Yeah.
eventually, I come home.
Right.
Valentine's Day.
Right.
The love of God again.
Right.
The best Valentine's gift I've ever had. So then I get to meet you at Man for Man.
Right.
And I'm like, man, you can't make this up, man.
Right.
This was already written. So I come here, I come to the seminar, you take me to meet Nick.
Right.
Man, that really blew my mind, and
Yeah,
put my spirit at an all-time high, but it let me see God.
Right. It just so happened that Nick was going to be in Indiana.
Exactly.
And I got to tell you, Nick normally these days doesn't do a lot of traveling or Midwestern type events unless they're really, really big. But he felt called to come back. This is the part that you probably don't even know. He felt called to come back to Indiana.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Because the prison ministry started in Indiana.
Right.
Okay. We got all of our surveys and information from inmates to do the program and put it together in Indiana. He wanted to honor Indiana. He wanted to honor some of the people on the team. And so he came here to Union Chapel to do a 3-day evangelistic event, but also honor the ministry that started here.
Right.
So all of a sudden you go from getting released
Exactly.
to accidentally on purpose running into me at another place that is a Blessing for Men, Man for Man in Anderson, Indiana. I was speaking there that day, and right afterwards you said, man, your voice sounds familiar. Well, I've been on videos,
Exactly.
and I've been
man,
there
I
doing
gotta
Free
know
My
you, man.
Faith. So we connected, and then I said, hey, Nick's coming, and I can probably get you back to him to meet him. And so now all this is being put together. You missed an opportunity to see him in person.
Right.
But like I said, you'd have been one of about 400 guys.
Exactly.
You show up that night here at Union Chapel, we reconnect, I walk you back and sit down on the couch with Nick.
Absolutely.
Not as a prize,
Right.
but as me introducing you as Darvis Clay, somebody who facilitates the program that
Right.
you help put together.
Absolutely.
You're a leader of men. This is what the whole thing's all about.
Exactly.
And so it was a moment. I mean, it was a
Yes,
moment.
man.
And it's a beautiful story. And I appreciate you sharing it because I think the thing that stood out to me was sometimes it is that simple. You cry out to God.
Yes.
I'm ready. You don't, look, you better show up.
Yeah.
And he knows when you're at that point.
Exactly.
There's no pretense.
Yeah, you can't fake
You're
it
not
with
making
God.
deals.
Yeah.
You're saying, if you're real, I need to know. And boom, he showed up.
That's right.
And he puts you on a journey. And
Yes.
man, what a story.
Yes.
God bless you. Thank you for sharing that.
I appreciate it. It was my pleasure.